if you were here, let's make sure we're here for the right class. You're all here for wine tasting? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good. Does everybody have one of these practical real estate sheets? We are on a roll.
Let's go.
I do not. Do you have an extra
Who do
one
not?
going around?
Did you sign in?
No.
Well,
As a matter of fact,
there's always one in the crowd.
yes.
Two ways.
There is. Sometimes two or three. Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. I'm Joni Farmer, and this is Marge Mavis.
Marvez.
I'm sorry, Marvez. And Marge created this class to help newer agents not make some of the same mistakes that we did, and kind of how to deal with those mistakes, because you probably will make them. So anyway, this is really a fun class, so please do interact and just kind of relax and have fun with it. So we're going to start with Amanda's favorite. How do we find comps to determine a great listing price for our sellers? And there's several different ways that you can do this. Through RE Colorado, you can do a matrix search, and there is a CMA function in Matrix. I have found the Matrix CMA to be very difficult to work with if you're doing adjustments. So still kind of trying to find some ways to work around that. You can also use Matrix Realist, and not only will that give you tax information and just all kinds of information about the property, but it's also going to give you an average valuation for the particular property. And then it's going to give you a wide range of where that property should fall into. The one that Amanda and I were working on just yesterday, I believe it gave a range from like 400,000 to 598, something like that. So a very, very large range. So if you're doing kind of a complicated CMA with adjustments, you want to be able to have as many resources as possible so that when you come up with a number, to be able to check it, tie it back to something, and make sure that that amount is looking right. So even though, Realist may not be the absolute price for what that property is supposed to be, it is a tool that you can use to make sure that at least it's in the range. Okay? A lot of people have told me that they don't know how to do CMAs because they have not been able to find, or they have not been able to do adjustments on CMAs because they have not been able to find what amounts to use for CMAs. Have any of you run into that problem? I know when I first started, it was a problem for me. I kept asking everyone I knew and every appraiser, where's there a list of all these adjustments? And for the most part, there isn't a list, but and I've passed this out to all of you, so you do have a copy of it. But this is just a printout that I did from Virtual Office. And Virtual Office is free right now, will not be after the end of the year. But anyway, we'll use what information is in there for now anyway. So this is a place to at least get started. And what I have found with doing CMAs too is that many times it really doesn't matter what amount you're using, as long as you're using the same amount throughout all the adjustments and all the comps. So, and you'll see in our office, we have this, and we change the values all the time for what we think they should be. So you'll see on here, it has above grade square footage to adjust $25 per square foot. Basement square foot, $8. Something it doesn't have here that that I think is very important is how much is finished square footage of a basement worth. Yeah, so you may want to, add that in too. But this is a place to get started, so at least you don't feel paralyzed if you want to do a CMA that you don't have anything to use to get started. Okay? So, you have a new buyer, and what should you know about your clients before you start working with them? What would be something that you think might be important?
What they're looking for.
Exactly. And what would be some of those, maybe some of the questions you might want to ask them to help them tell you what they're looking for?
Size of a home, price range, area.
How many garages they want, if it's how many car spaces they want for their garage. If it's necessary to have an attached garage. Fireplaces used to be kind of important. They're not as much so now because you can buy them. And then once you know what they are looking for, and a lot of times you're constrained by how much they've been approved for by their lender. They may want, a 5-acre house with granite countertops, but they've only been approved for $200,000. So then it comes down to, out of those things that they were looking for in a house, what do they absolutely have to have, and what are some of those things that they would like to have, like the granite countertop? Do they have to have that, or is that something that they can live with and maybe put in later? Let's see, what else should you know about your clients? What about when you're going to be working with them? Would it be important to know what their work schedules are? So, find that out. Something I like to always find out is I normally contact my clients between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And I like to check with them to make sure that that's all right. And with those hours it normally is, and then they'll normally tell you if, earlier is fine too and later is fine too. But that is important. I used to always feel safe with doing emails in the middle of the night, thinking that, it wouldn't bother them at all, but so many people have their notification going off that an email can be troublesome in the middle of the night also. So it is important to know those hours. Also, when they're available to look at homes becomes very important, something you need to know. Also need to know if it's a couple and they work different schedules. Is there a time when they can both look at the houses at the same time? Or are you going to be taking one of them to look and, narrowing it down? Those types of things are always good to know at the very beginning. Marge, what else can you think of for...
One of the things that's important to me, because I work with a lot of dog people. Do you have a dog? How big is your dog? And did you want to live on an open space? Open space houses always have 3-foot fences. So if they've got a greyhound that they'd like to have in the backyard, probably not a good idea to have an open space house. So what kind of animals do you have? What concerns do you have about your animals? That's always important. School systems are important to the kids. You can learn the school systems. They can see the school systems right online. And the other thing is, some people won't do business because of religious convictions on Saturdays or on Sundays. So find out if there are any days of the week that will not work for them. And it's really okay to ask. It's not prying, it's really okay to ask.
Another thing that just crossed my mind too was, are they handy? You know, are they able to do any kind of repairs around the house themselves? Does it have to be move-in ready, or are they able to take care of that, some of that themselves too? Really find out what they're looking for. They may tell you, yeah, we're looking for a fix-up, and then you take them to a house where they don't like the paint color, and they'll say, oh, but it needs painting. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of times we'll find out when they're looking for a fix-up, they're really not planning on doing too much. Yeah, so I'm gonna let you take over at this part, or?
Let's see, I always have a little
For setting
star
up
on it.
showings.
Setting up showings,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, let me go get my stuff.
Okay.
How many of you have done showings already? Oh, wonderful. How many of you are terrified to do showings already? Okay, well, a little bit queasy, shall we say. They're really not scary, but here's something I would tell you to do. If you haven't done them or you're uncomfortable with doing them, get another realtor friend together and go preview homes. It's important to know how to walk through a home, how to enter the home, how to let the people know that you're there, how to lock up the doors and windows when you leave. If you don't have any friends, and you've gotten into real estate so you'll have some friends, ask your mentor to do it. I've gone out with my folks and it's a barrel of fun because I become someone else. I become a client. And I give them my must-haves and maybe I'd like this, but what about that? And then I start leaving windows open and doors unlocked as I go by. And I see if they go by and check on me because I can't be trusted. And it's really, really important that you get that mindset. I've been in a house where, and there's funny stories and kind of spooky stories, where a door looked like it had been kicked open. You have to know how to attend to that. What are you going to do if the door looks like it's been jimmied open? You know, you can call the police and maybe the door's been like that for 3 months. I called the agent to let them know that it looked like the door had been jimmied open and nobody was around in the house, but I'm getting out. So that's one thing. I showed a house at one time. They never told me that Grandpa was going to be home taking a shower.
Oh,
Yes. Imagine his surprise. I showed a house one time that it was during hunting season and they didn't tell me that there'd be a deer hanging upside down in the garage. So you have to be prepared for a lot of things as you go in and show. And it's really good to know your inventory. So take the time to, you know, once a month, twice a week, whatever you want to do, set up some previews and go see the inventory. See what these townhouses look like, what those lofts are like, those condos. Go see the real expensive houses. That'll get you motivated. But, you know, it is good to set them up. When you do show and you've got your client, you've asked all the questions that Joni told you about, and you know what they want, and it's not going to be what you showed them the first time. You know what they want, and you've got a list. Keep your list kind of simple. If the list comes up with 10 houses, you have to tell them that they're not, in a nice way, they're not going to see all 10 houses. You say, pick your 5 favorite. Those will be the 5 top ones. Those will be the 5 best ones. And you show them 5. 5 is a good number to be able to show in one sitting. If there are little kids involved, okay, you might need Excedrin to go along with it. But 5 is a good number to be able to show. When you do show those, use the mapping feature on Matrix. Have you seen the mapping feature? When you pull up houses, that little bar at the bottom will have a mapping feature on it. I think it says directions. And you just click that and it'll show where the houses are so you can plan your route. You want to plan your route giving a 1.5 to 2 hour time frame to the showing service. You're going to take the 5 that you're showing, let's say that we're showing 5 of them, and if 3 numbers are the same, 3 of the same showing services, and 2 are different, put the 3 that are together, call that showing service, set those up. Write down the times that you want to show those houses. Make sure you give yourself enough time to bring your crew in, take a look at the house, and get them moving to the other house. Okay? If you're not going to go into the house, if they don't like it, they looked out front and they can't stand all the gnomes in the front yard, do call the showing service and cancel that showing, because people in the house were waiting for you to come. They cleaned up just for you. So as a courtesy, we like to let them know that, we didn't come. And be honest, if it's the gnomes in the front yard or the paint color turned you off entirely, just be honest with them. Know your codes. When you call a showing service, you're going to be interrogated, and it'll feel like that the first time out, because you'll be asked for your office ID, your agent ID. You'll be asked at centralized showing, you'll be asked to set up a showing code that's specific to you, and you'll be quizzed on that all the time. So does everybody know what their agent ID is, quickly if asked, or do they have to go in their wallet and pull it out? Yeah, learn that, walk around the house and learn it. I've got a great one. I don't know how I got this. Listen to this one. 010110. I don't know what I did for that, but I love it. And then your office codes are either CC123 if you are LLC, or CCP09 if you are Inc. So do know those, like your birthday or anniversary, well, the anniversaries I think we forget, but birthday, that type of thing. Do try to stay on time. If you're running late, and again, or if the client doesn't want to see the house, call. You may have to kind of herd people out of the house. Let's go, folks. You've seen those jokes about tour guides. Walkies, we're walking, we're walking. Yeah. You may have to do that, because some people will stand around looking at things that they know they're not going to buy. They want to complain about it, they want to dissect it, and they know they're not going to buy this house. So get them the heck out of there. Always leave a card so that the folks know that you came. Okay, that's important. Have you all had the fun of working the lock boxes? We'll see about that.
Test.
Once they cannot, they call the agent, they can't be out.
These are just 3 of the lock boxes that you're going to find. And has anyone not done this one before? Because I'll let you do it. It's much nicer to do it in a controlled environment. Okay, when you go to this house, they're going to tell you that the code is FRE. Okay?
All right.
It's F to the right,
Okay.
R to the left, R to the left again. Good job. And back to E. If you don't know how to work these, if you haven't practiced, then when you get to the home, you're going to feel like a doofus. And we all know we don't like to feel like doofuses with our own carrying cards. So learning the lock boxes are very important. When you buy a lock box, it is defaulted to, it comes from the factory, defaulted to SPI. You can go in and change it. It's real simple. It just makes a mess on your table, but you can change it. FRE was my dog Freeway. So we all have the things that we remember. I like to go boating, so you might put something about boating on there. But just do yourself a favor, remember what they are. I have 5 of them, and there's one I can't for the life of me remember. And I did not have 5 dogs. This is another one that is kind of nifty. It's got numbers on the front, so you would be given a number code. And once you get the right numbers, this little box here will fly up. You'll push this little box up, and you'll dump the key out. Do we know this
No,
number?
we do not.
We do not know the number. But that's how it works. The numbers are very simple, very easy. And then you're looking around like, how does it open? You know, what does it do? There's this little, a trap door right here, okay? That'll slide up and the key's in there.
And the first time I came across one of those, I had to call the listing agent after trying and trying over and over again with the buyers standing there. You just not, you don't normally think of the opening being on the side, and it took some time.
This is another very popular model that I'd love to go around town and get rid of.
Oh,
If I had, you have one of these?
yeah, I just got one.
Here's why I don't like it. You might love it, and so
I have not opened it
I
yet.
apologize. You have to clear it here. You clear it, then you punch in the numbers, and then you would open it. But before you close it again, you have to clear it and punch those numbers in again. So it's like double duty. Okay? So just remember, when you go to close it, if it's not closing for you, no matter how hard you push, that you have to clear it and start again with the numbers.
Now that is my favorite,
Is it a box?
because the ones that I don't like are where there's a line and you have to, get the numbers or the letters exactly lined up right for it to open. And with this one, it's just pushing the buttons. There's no guessing as to how it's supposed to be lined up.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
With nails, it's,
Yeah.
you see me
Yeah.
doing these gyrations.
Right.
I had a client, you'll have funny stories, so I get to share my funny stories with you. I had a client that had the most adorable 6-year-old. I think he had the IQ of Einstein. But he would, I'd eventually let him open the lock boxes. And he would he'd come up to the door very quickly, and he would see the lock box, and I'd hear him say, "Oh, Marge, you are not going to like this." 6 years old. "You are not going to like this." Every time he saw one of these. Okay, we have the electronic lock boxes. Have anybody seen those? Has anybody seen those? Those are pretty good once you learn them. It's like having a day pass. You're given a time, and they know your codes, and they know what time you're going to open it up, and it lights up, and it will open, and it's a big production. And you can go back and do it again that day, but that's it. They'll know that you're in there, but that is it. That is it.
It must be different than the ones that came out years ago. They came out and you had to have a key. You had to buy a
Oh,
your
is
card or
that what they're
something?
doing down in Colorado Springs?
I don't think so. These, I think, are the Central Lock.
Central Lock.
And, there's no key with them, although I have heard of the key, so maybe that is what they're doing in Colorado
That-
Springs.
When they first came out.
Yeah.
They tried, tell you what radicals we are up here in Denver. They tried for years to get us to join the club of the electronic lock boxes that they have down in Colorado Springs. And everybody got up in arms, a lot of very well-dressed people wanting to say, "No, I'm not doing that, we're not doing that. We like all of these that we already bought." I think with these, there's a registration fee, and there's
Very
a monthly
expensive.
fee or a yearly fee for these. So, once we pay our $26, we're just very happy to keep our own.
So does that electronic one, it requires your ID to get in?
No, they'll give you a number
Oh,
for the day. When you call to make your appointment, they'll tell you your number is 6789.
Okay.
And you press enter, 6789, enter. There's a whole production. Stand on your left foot. There's a whole production with it. The first time you use it, it's a little baffling. It was for me anyway. It's a little baffling, but they're pretty nice. They really are pretty nice, and the homeowners feel safe and secure because you can tell who went in because that number is associated with you. And if you used it 3 times in that day, we know you went in 3 times that day. So all the secrecy's taken away.
And someone can't come back in the middle of the night and use it.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's see. Some of the things that I really want to make note of, because I get questions from my mentees, is if you go into MetroList, the MLS rules and regulations answers most all of your questions. So if you have a question of, can I do this? Or you don't think you should do this, or what about that? Go in to look at the rules and regulations. They are very explicit, and it'll keep you from getting a fine. And it's really important that you know your business inside and out. Couple of websites that I love to use, and I think you will too once you start using them. You know how on your cell phones you get these phone calls come in and it says unknown on there? And you don't know whether to say, hi, this is Marge, I got a call from this, you know? Spydialer.com is a great site to go to. For the most part, it'll have all of the cell phones in it. And you can either hear the outgoing message or they'll give you the name. Spydialer.com.
SPY.
SPYdialer.com. It's really cool. Go home and try it. Another site that I really like is Outright.com. Have any of you heard of Outright? A lot of times as realtors, we have a hard time doing our taxes. We have a big, if you're like me, I have a big, very pretty basket full of a lot of receipts. And I get to it when I get to it. But I was just writing things down, and I didn't have a format to do it. Outright.com is a fabulous format. You can print it off, you can take it to your accountant, and it's free. So it's now owned by GoDaddy, but it is a free account. And another thing is, a lot of people tell me that they have trouble meeting the clients. You know, how do I meet clients? Now that I know how to do contracts, I know how to open a front door, but how do I get the clients to go in? There are so many different ways. If you belong to a church group, if you belong to any kind of a group, if you do volunteer work, if you used to work somewhere and you still have that database. One very nice place to try, because it gets us out, is meetup.com. Have you heard of that? Any of you heard of meetup.com? What I like about meetup.com, it sounds like a dating site, and I guess it could be. But if you have an interest in anything, trust me, anything, you can go in there and say, you know, I like roller skating, or I like French poodles. And they will hook you up online. They'll show you any activities and groups that are going to be doing something around what you say you like. Great way to meet new people, great way to get your name out there. Now comes the bag. That's my favorite part here. One of my mentees did this, and I'll pass this around so you can see it. She's a runner, and she would go to a trailhead where she knew people would run every weekend. She got water bottles, and she made up these little signs to go on her water bottles, got her kids to help her, and every weekend she'd be out there with her water bottles.
That's smart.
So that's one nice way to do it.
But people throw it away after they finish the water.
They may, but they might see your name and say, you know, hey, I don't have a realtor. I was thinking about buying a house. Maybe I will take this home. The most important thing is to never just get in your car and go. You really, really, really have to have a lot of things just in case. You know how moms always carry the diaper bag? Had everything in it, maybe a little piece of candy, maybe a bottle, maybe a this, maybe a that. It's my diaper bag. My son is 31 and he's in the Army. I don't think he needs me to do that anymore, but anyway, here are some things that will be important for you to take. Should always have a bunch of umbrellas in the car. Women hate to get out of the car if it's raining, so carry some umbrellas and you will be the knight in shining armor. You always want to have flashlights and have a number of them. I get all my flashlights at Harbor Freight, and if you get the paper delivered, and you can probably even get them online, every week they have something free. These are all free. So I absolutely love that. The kids love to have flashlights. So especially if you're going into a home that's a foreclosure and the electricity is not on. And it's, from what I've been reading, we're going to be getting more and more foreclosures. Have you seen that, Joni? The foreclosure rate is starting to pick
I've
up?
heard that.
Yeah.
Pick up, or are there banks are releasing more?
Yes,
Yes.
releasing more.
Okay.
So picking up in terms of what we get to see.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So usually, oftentimes I should say, the electricity will not be on. And when you want to go down into the creepy, creepy basement, and trust me, some of these are pretty creepy. And instead of walking through those spider webs where you do the dance of the crazy spider woman, have these with you. It's really, really important.
And even in the daytime, when you're not thinking about needing a flashlight, again, when you're going into the basement, it can be totally...
Or crawl spaces, you know, a lot of houses, little tri-levels will have just a crawl space. And you'll want to see, does it have the plastic on the floor? You know, is there a family living in there? You want to see what's going on. So have that. If you're a single gal, or a guy that doesn't like confrontation, get some sort of a mace type of thing. They come in all different shapes and sizes these days. Some of them look like a pen, so you could just walk around with that pen. And for ladies, never, ever, 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 ever go into the basement with a man that you have just gotten a call from, please show me this house. Trust me, never, 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 never. You let them go down there, and if they're asking you to explain yourself, it's my office policy. Blame everything on the office, by the way. I blame things on the office, I blame things on Dave Affman. So just blame everything on them. One of our favorite, you never know if it's going to be a client that you've just had enough of, or duct tape will come in handy. It doesn't hurt to carry it.
I'm sorry, what's that for?
Children,
Seriously,
what's it for?
What is it for?
What is it for? If something comes apart in the car, if you have to tape something up, it's good to carry duct tape. You never know if your fender's if you have a fender bender and your fender's going to fall off. Have some duct tape. Trust me. And you know another thing it's really good for? If the last house you saw had a very hairy dog that decided to jump on you,
Yeah.
it's a lint remover. Yeah. If you've got kids in the car, you're going to want these. Even if not, if you go looking at some of these houses, when you walk through and you say, how do people live like this? You've been into them, I know you have. How do they live like this? And they're showing it? And then you want to go to McDonald's for lunch? you need to wash your hands. So there are a lot of uses, because I've used them already, a lot of uses for these. Always carry a tape measure. Somebody always wants to measure. They're in a tiny room and they want to know where their king-size bed is going to fit. I can see myself that it will fit in the garage. It's not going to fit in the room. But they want to measure the darn thing. So always take a tape measure with you. They'll, maybe use their phone or something like that. But, go to the head of the class with a good sturdy tape measure.
Has anybody found or heard of an app, sorry to interrupt, I was just thinking that might include that, something that operates on a smartphone?
There could be, does anybody know of one?
It's gotta be
Yes.
something like that. I mean, I was just thinking of it.
There is
anything
one.
else?
I don't know what it's called. My husband downloaded it so that he could measure how long our living room was.
Oh,
Kind
really?
of like those laser.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
like
sure,
a laser.
it's
It's on
That'd be
your,
nice.
it's on your iPhone. Just search for it and you should find it.
What's it called?
I don't know. I don't think she knows. Yeah, sorry.
That would really be efficient.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Oh, tape
He searched for
measuring
the
app.
level, found it.
Just tape measuring. It's free.
You should always carry, just like a little hardware store in here. You should always carry nuts and bolts and these little quick links, anything that you were using on your signs. If I use these little quick links on my signs to put them on the holders, I use them when I'm putting sign writers. And I always carry, kids like to take them off, so, little boogers. So carry some with you in case you drive by one of your listings and your sign is hanging cattywampus. Did you want to see that?
Yeah, what's that? Thanks.
It's nothing like seeing your sign hanging and, my name's on there. Take one of those. Oh, talking about the dirty houses, carry some of these with you. I'm serious. Carry some plastic gloves. It'll make life much easier on some of these places you might go into. Any ideas? These for the kids.
Yeah.
It keeps them occupied. I tell them that it's a very high-tech real estate tool, and I'm going to be asking them to help me do some testing in the house. They love it, especially if you get the colored ones. And their job is to go around the house and just put it on a flat surface and see if it rolls and then report back to us. Keeps them busy. Mom and Dad can go look at the rest of the house.
And it does serve a purpose.
And it serves a purpose, if the house is, headed downstream. This might seem odd, but carry toilet paper. Inevitably, whether it's you or someone else in the crew, you come to a house that's a vacant property, the water's on, always test to make sure the water's on, and you'll have to use the bathroom. Carry some toilet paper with you.
So it's okay to use their
Yes,
bathroom,
yes.
even if it's not vacant?
If you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh,
And if
okay.
it's vacant, there's probably toilet paper, so you don't have to worry about it.
Just,
Not
No,
always.
no.
I mean, not if it's occupied.
just leave a quarter on top of the.
If the kids are going to be, if you're the agent and the kids are going to be in there, I would check it to make sure it's in the same condition that when you came in, just in case, how they are. I like to carry these little juice boxes. There were 3, we're down to 1. You can get these at the dollar store. Dollar store is your friend. I would suggest apple juice if they're going to be in your car instead of cherry juice, just in case. I also get little things to keep them occupied, dollar store. These are little books, just to keep them occupied. You might want trash bags. You can see I've used them. You never know if it's your listing, if you've got, and there's all sorts of papers and trash or something you might want to pack out with you if it was a vacant home. Take some trash bags, it doesn't hurt. Now here's my most fun tool, and I use it all the time. Don't we all have one? We all have one, yes, we all have one. Isn't this the biggest honking screwdriver?
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah. What do you think I use this for?
A weapon.
Ta-da. That
Really?
could be one, back scratcher.
In case you don't want to kick in the front door.
If I don't want to kick in the front door,
Might
that's,
have your good shoes on.
yeah, there you go, it can jimmy something.
Measure the
No.
cracks in the wall in the basement.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Did you hear Joni?
No, I got part of it.
Joni?
Well, and I don't remember exactly how big it needs to be for whether it's, you know, a concern or not. But when people see cracks in the basement walls, you could always use that to kind of, you know, measure how wide that crack is.
What I actually use this for is A, to make you laugh, and the other thing is when you're putting your signs in the ground is not always forgiving. The ground is not always ready to take your signs. I didn't carry it with me because it was too heavy, but I have a mallet that goes with this. I have a listing in Highlands Ranch, and boy was I digging, trying to get my sign in that grass. And it just works very well.
I'll also bring a jug of water too, because often the ground's dry.
Oftentimes, you know, the yard can be just drier than all get out. In the winter, you're going to have the same situation, you know, and ladies, we'll get real sexist here. If you are too unstrong, if you're not strong enough to do some of these things, there are services that'll do them. So, you know, if you don't have, to
Call
say
your
this,
husband.
you don't have a man around the house. There are services that will do this. My son used to do them all for me. He's in the military, they keep deploying him. I think he volunteers because he knows he has to do this for me. But if you can't get your signs in, if it becomes a problem, there are services that'll do that for you.
Or again, ask a friend to go with you.
Or ask a friend to go with you. Or if the husband of the household is home, ask him, because they love doing that stuff. Trust me. You're going to be selling their most prized possession, and they want that beautiful sign out front. So trust me on that. Sometimes we get clients in our cars who are just drive us nuts. Absolutely, totally drive us nuts. One thing I want to impart on you, I see heads shaking, is don't ever be so hungry that you can't say, get out of my car. You can fire a client. I have told people to get out of my car. Life is too short. And if I can't see like the end of the road, if I can't see the closing out of my left eye, you know, sometimes you have to just cut them loose. You can also say it very nicely that, you know, I don't think we're meshing as a couple. So I would like to, have another agent that I think might work better with you. Get a referral fee, okay?
An agent you don't like.
And get a referral fee, yes. Exactly, exactly.
You know, and I've been in that situation before too, and you feel like you have so much time invested in this person or this couple so far, that you've just got to stay with them until it closes, because you've got to get them to closing and get something for all your time. It won't happen. You'll just keep spinning your wheels with them. It'll keep getting worse and worse. So just, you know, cut your ties, you know, and go on, find another client.
Yeah, refer them to someone
Yes.
else.
What if you ask them to follow you? That works sometimes. in their car.
Oh, most of the time, I hardly have people in my car anymore. But, I mean, they might drive nuts from their car. You know, as soon as you park, you're saying to yourself, oh, God, I've got to get out of the car and talk to these people again. You know, those are the people, I mean, don't let them take every ounce of everything from you.
That's right.
You know? Or the other thing, if you really, really, really have to get this one closed, this is what I do. When it's done, I buy jewelry. That makes me you know, there's my light at the end of the tunnel. So, and then, when all else fails, and you think you've been driven crazy enough, or you had a really good day, carry something like this. And that can complete your day. What questions might you have for me? About clients you've had, horror stories you've heard, what if? Yes.
I went into a basement with a man and nothing happened, but I wasn't paying attention. And I got down there and I thought, oh my God, and it was a vacant house. And like I said, nothing happened, but be aware all the time because it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
It's easy to just,
It
think
is.
about.
Yeah,
So
and
I was lucky.
you were very fortunate. You know, if we've all met in class today, so if we went out to look at a house, I would feel comfortable because we've met in class today. But if someone calls you up or you get a lead off, you know, you're sitting floor time and you get a lead and they want to see someplace, you don't know this person. You have no identification on him. You just say that it's company policy that I don't do this. Always leave the front door open. You can say, just had knee replacement surgery, I don't do stairs.
You know,
You know, just whatever you want to say, you know, short of, you know, hey, you're a guy, I don't trust you as far as I can show you, so I'm going to throw you, so I'm going to stand right over here. But honor yourself. So if you feel squirrely about something, there's a good reason for it, and just stick by the door or get the little spray pens. And, you know, if you're feeling uncomfortable with a client, that's not a good way to spend your day.
Yeah, also during open houses too, be very aware of your surroundings. You know, make sure that you do have a way out if someone is going to go close to you or.
Yes. Who's done open houses here? Okay. It is a good idea, again, for the ladies to have someone there with them. So I know a lot of the gals make their boyfriends or husbands go with them. You can have a lender go with you. There are lenders that'll come to the open house. They want business just as much as you do. And they'll probably do up the flyers for you. So that's a thought process. Bring another agent. If you bring another agent, you must decide how you will split any leads that you have. So be aware of that. Okay?
What is a good way to split the leads you have?
You can do either or. You can say, I'll take the first one, you take the second one. You can do something like that. Or, you know, whoever gets lead will pay the other one, you know, gets the client will pay the other one a referral fee, so that everybody comes out whole.
Or Rochambeau.
Any other questions?
Well, another comment too, Marge, you were talking at the beginning about how it's good to partner up with people, like with your title company. Another person is a lender. So not just for doing open houses, but, try, meeting a lender in your own bank and see if they would be willing to do open houses with you. Because a lender will do so many things, like Marge said, they'll probably print up the flyers for you, they'll bring a lot of information, But they can supply a lot of resources for you and leads sometimes as well too. If they have some customers, they're looking for a good agent to give that client to, so they can be a big help.
Absolutely. And when you give names of lenders, how many do we give?
33.
Same thing with title companies. Title companies and lenders, any service people. When somebody asks me, I just sold a 100-year-old house in Old Inglewood, and it needed a facelift. So the seller said, well, who do I call for this? Who do I call for this? Who do I call for this? And basically, you know, you're liable if you give a name. We'll call Freddie's Service. You're liable in that regard if that doesn't work out. I generally respond by saying, you know, you might try Service Magic. They're now Home Advisor. Is everybody familiar with Home Advisor? They're very good. I have used them. You just go online, you describe your situation, your problem, and they have vetted the people that will call you back. They're licensed contractors. These contractors pay, I think it's $75 each time they get a lead, whether you answer them or not. So if I get 3 phone calls and I only answer 2, that third one still has to pay the $75. That's how they work their situation. I've used them for a number of things and they're pretty darn good. And you also have to be careful if you have someone in the family who is a contractor of any sort and you're going to recommend them, you have to have a disclaimer to the buyer or the seller that you are affiliated with this person. This is a family member.
And I understand SkyStar, since it's affiliated with Cherry Creek,
Yes.
there's a special form now.
Yes, same way. You're notifying them that there's an affiliation relationship, and it's full disclosure. It's what we always like to say. Full disclosure, full disclosure. Yes?
At the last quarterly Cherry Creek meeting, they said you can't recommend family anymore. That's the way
Did
I
they
took it.
do that as a blanket statement, or without, you can't recommend them without disclosing that this is family?
I actually didn't hear it there, but I did hear it in one of our mentoring meetings. Dave Athman had told a story how someone had used their brother, I believe it was, and I don't know what happened to the house, but there were problems. And so it's now a policy that we cannot use family members.
Yeah, I took it as a blanket policy.
Yeah,
I could be
yeah.
wrong.
And he did say that it was a new policy.
Okay.
Then there were a couple lawsuits that Cherry Creek had to get involved.
Isn't that special?
Yeah.
But it's not for everything.
Yeah.
It really was, because that came up too, about how far it goes. And it really was for contractor work. Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, it's more of a little story around what we were just talking about. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but real quick. I had this need on a listing to find a granite installation person. We were redoing the kitchens. The sellers asked me, what do you think about granite countertops? I said, great idea, highly recommend it. Do you know anybody? I only knew one person. And I explained, I only know one person, but I've never used him. I've heard that he's you know, very experienced. He's been doing this 20 years and he's been highly recommended, but I can't guarantee him. No problem. I said, why don't you give him a call? They called, they hired him, they gave him a $1,500 deposit. The husband did. And then apparently this guy somehow missed an appointment or something went wrong and upset the seller, my seller, who went ballistic on the phone. Really, to a point.
To you?
No, to the contractor for being late or for changing the agreement, to a point where the guy didn't even want to work with him anymore. held on to his deposit of $1,500 and wouldn't refund it, because he'd already done some preliminary work measuring and stuff for where to cut the granite and that type of stuff. So I think that's going to go away. It did come up. I just closed yesterday on this property, and they agreed to walk away from the $1,500, just because it was more trouble than it was worth to get it back.
Did you become the bad guy?
For a while.
Yeah.
For a while. I still may be, and I don't know what'll happen afterwards, but, I did everything I could to mitigate the situation. But really, the owner, the husband, who I got to know, who was just a screaming nightmare, really scary guy. Really, nobody wanted to be around this guy, so. Anyway, just for whatever it's worth, that's happened. It's still pending. They seem to understand that, without acknowledging it, that they did cause that separation from the guy, so we'll see. I did try to intervene, called the guy, said give their deposit back, and he wouldn't return my calls, finally did, and I'm not working for you, have them call me. Yeah.
But,
So-
and you really didn't refer them, it's just a name.
Yeah,
And
it's a
you
fine
said
line
that you would never
sometimes.
use them.
Yeah.
Another thing, are all of you on the Cherry Creek LinkedIn site?
I am trying to. I
You
need
should,
to be,
you
yeah.
should be, because you can research. You can search for discussions on all subjects. So, for instance, going back to granite from my old house in Inglewood, getting granite in her tiny kitchen, there's a counter here, there's a counter here, so little bits is what she needed. She really needed remnants, so I put out there, has anyone worked with anyone that works with remnants? And I got back a flock of responses, and one of them was just excellent, and it was like half of what she had gotten quotes on before. She was very, very, very pleased. And so my disclaimer to her was, this is information that I got from other agents in the company, and you can give them a call and see what you think. You're looking for vendors.
One thing that we've not covered is about where you get key off, or dropping the key.
Oh, yes, Joni was just reminding me. Oh, and then I'm having so much fun with this, I forgot about the contracts. Some of the things that can happen when you go to show a property, you can break the key off in the lock. Did you ever go onto a front porch, which is really kind of like a deck, and there are holes, between the boards? I have this fear. Not that there's a spider down there or anything, but I'm going to drop the key down there. I always have this fear, so I'm like cupping the key and the whole thing. When those things happen, and they will, call the agent. Just call the agent, fess up to it, call the agent, and habanada, have a nice day. It will happen. Don't beat yourself up about it.
Even if you can't get hold of the agent and you're gonna have to leave it unlocked or whatever.
Call the showing service. Call them and then let them,
Deal with it.
deal with it to the agent. Yeah. That's always a good way to go. I'm supposed to talk about contracts. Is everybody using their contract software?
CTM.
Everybody using CTM? Anybody not using CTM? Good.
Good?
Yeah. You are or you're not?
No,
You should. What are you using?
I have not written any contract yet.
Okay, well, then you get a pass. You can use, on RE Colorado in the marketplace, you can get contracts there. I think it's $9 a month, maybe. No, but it doesn't interface well with e-contracts. Most everyone uses e-contracts right now. So you will see on all these listings where up in broker remarks, they say agent is a CTM user. And it is so easy to flip those contracts back and forth. You get 30 days free when you sign up. You should go to the classes because it can make you crazy. It's easy for your mentor to go in with you and look at your contracts. Dora also has the contracts, but they're not branded. And you want your contracts branded. You want your company name, you want your name on it, and all of that. So I highly recommend, the 20 bucks a month might be an end to your Starbucks habit, but do 20 bucks a month for e-contracts. It's well worth it. Let's see. How many have had deals so far? Okay. Were you real comfortable writing the contracts?
Totally comfortable, because I had Joni.
Were you comfortable writing them?
I was okay only because I just recently purchased 2 properties, so I was very familiar with the contract.
When you do write a contract, you will become, please make your mentor your new best friend. Because I have a little game I play with my guys, that they'll write up the contract and send it to me. Then I will make a list of what needs to be adjusted, and then we get back on the phone. My goal is, you're gonna love this, my goal is when they upload it into SkySlope, that they will not have one comment from Dave Affman that they have made a mistake. That is my goal. I want them to look beautiful.
That will become a goal of all of you.
Now, when Dave looks at it, he's certainly, trying to keep us out of court. He is teaching us something, and he wants to make sure that we're servicing our client correctly. But I'll tell you, the more red stuff you see in there, it's a head slapper. How did I miss that? How did I miss that? So work closely with your mentor, because it's important to have all of those in, and you can't believe the little things that can be missed. That's why I say it's a head slapper, because we know better. When I miss one of those things, it's, what was I thinking?
Is there a place in CTM to send it to your mentor?
Sure, you can email it to your mentor.
You can email it to anyone.
And not done, right? Just if it's still in progress?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just save it as a PDF, right? Send it over to them?
Well, you don't have to save it as a PDF. You just save it, and then you go to the email function
Oh, and email it.
and email it to him or her. Absolutely.
And that's how you do it, email it to the other agent?
Yes.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. What was that question?
The question was, if you're halfway through or having trouble with the contract, can you save it and email it to your mentor, take a look at, and explain where I need to go from here type of thing? And yet the answer is yes. It's very easy to do that.
And speaking of saving, when you're
CTM.
entering information in CTM,
Always
do
save.
save often.
Yeah.
Yes, you will learn that.
Save.
You should have a little tick-tock going in your head. And every 10 times it ticks and it talks, save it, save it, save it. Because if your computer fuzzes out or something, for the moment, everything's lost. And
Unless you say it.
Right.
unless you save it, and you've got to know, it's just when you need to present that contract to somebody. That's every time it's going to happen.
So now you're talking about e-contract.
E-contracts.
CTM.
CTM e-contract.
And that's different from RE Colorado Market.
Yes.
They have a link there.
Yes, RE Colorado, the ones you can buy on the marketplace, the Instinet forms, they were trying to be in competition, trying to be the one we'd like to use. We don't like to use them. They're not as user-friendly and they're not as interfaceable as e-contracts. Because once you get you have a listing, you get an offer, then in e-contracts, you can allow the other agent to see all the disclosures and It's a much easier integration.
On the bottom of the, if you're doing a search and it's whichever one I'm using,
So if you're writing an offer on something, hopefully you'll want to use,
so that, are there always both choices there?
I don't know.
Because
I usually haven't noticed that.
well, where there's, just on the bottom of the picture, when you're doing a search of a property, it's got all those little boxes right at the bottom of the picture.
Oh, you know what I
And
think
one of them's.
you're referring to?
Internet.
If you use, if you're going to write an offer on that property,
Uh-huh.
if you click that, it will populate into your offer. So it'll populate like the
Just all the,
inclusions and exclusions and legal description.
Okay.
From the MLS?
Yes, it'll do it from MLS, it'll do it from,
It'll
what's
also
the one
do it
that's going
from
away?
virtual office.
Virtual office.
Wow, that's good.
What is virtual office?
Say again?
What is virtual office? Is a software?
Virtual office is another set of software. It's been around for quite a while. I used to pay for it. I like it because it's quick and easy and fast.
That does the contracts?
No, it doesn't do the contracts, it's more like MLS. Okay? It's more like MLS.
It's more like Matrix.
And that's a separate.
It's separate software. Now, a couple of years ago, MetroList contracted with Virtual Office for Virtual Office to reside with MetroList. And it was an option, you could do one or the other. The contract is up at the end of this year. I still use it quite a bit, and a couple of the documents in here are from Virtual Office. They're easy to read, they're cute, and they're colorful. So I particularly like Virtual Office. You talked about Realist for a little bit.
Yes.
Okay,
So, I'm sorry.
go ahead, no, let's,
So if we use Matrix, we don't need to use the virtual office at all? Don't bother then?
don't bother them, it'll make you crazy. Go back and
Especially
forth.
since it's going to be going away.
Yeah.
It's not worth the brain damage trying to learn it.
So let's go back to her question. At the bottom, you click on something to go to the contract, make an offer on the house.
If you're going to make an offer on that house, click on, and you're using, let's say you're using e-contracts, you click on that little button, then you go to your e-contracts, you start writing it up, and then it'll tell you at one certain point, you can populate this from Matrix, or you can populate this from Virtual Office. Thank you. And you click on that and your contract will be populated with information that you'd rather not be writing.
I had never thought of doing it that way, but it makes sense. When you're in CTM, it's kind of the reverse of that. It also has a place where you can click on it and it will load all the information that the listing agent has entered in there, so you kind of get to it either way.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I have a listing, I don't have any buyer, I don't need to set up with e-contract.
You do,
No.
you do because you have to write the contracts for the listing. And you have to write all of the disclosures for the listing.
Oh, okay.
And then those will be put into SkySlope.
Oh,
Work very closely with your mentor.
About the bag, I'm looking in definitions of working relationships, so open house should have some of those, yeah. Should be double in something.
Yes. Yes.
what's his question?
A lot of agents carry definition of working relationships with them or bring them into open houses. so that you can disclose to the agents, to the clients, what capacities you are able to work in. And it's one of the documents you always have to have when you're working with a client. It's more informative than it's not a contract, it's informative.
Full disclosure.
Couple of things I want to show you. If you are a realtor, if you belong to LLC, get familiar with RPR. It is fabulous. It is a great way to get values on houses.
That one doesn't look good.
What's it, what'd you
Yeah.
refer to
Yeah.
it as?
RPR?
RPR.
Oh,
However, down below it has a range, and you are able, and this is what they might have done, you are able to go in, if you know something more about the house than the county records knows, they just spent $25,000 on the kitchen, they spent $15,000 on the master bedroom, you can up the grade, up the range, up the price. So it's user-friendly.
Good.
Okay? Another seller's net sheet is real easy numbers, estimated net proceeds. RealEasyNumbers.com is another program for doing seller net sheets. What I like about that one, and my folks like it, you can say, well, if your house goes on the market for this amount, this is how much you're going to walk away with. If you get an offer $2,000 less, this is how much you walk away with. $2,000 less, this is what you walk away with. So it works it out for them. In this day, everybody's offering over, so maybe that isn't necessary, but it'll come back to you. And the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, you've all been through the Sky Slope webinars and classes? No?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Please do go through the Sky Slope videos that are online. It's not hard to do unless you haven't been through the videos, and then you can muck it up. But you can always call Sky Slope and they'll unmuck you. They've unmucked me.
They are very responsive.
Yes.
The online chat, you have a question
So
and
use
it's resolved in 2
use
minutes.
any of your lifelines, eContracts Lifeline, Metroless Lifeline, Sky Slope Lifeline. They are excellent people to talk to. And the last thing I'll talk to you about is just something that's worked for me over the ages is a communication record. However you keep track of everything you do, keep track of everything you do. I use one of these for every one of my, and it's in your packet, every one of my clients, and I have all of their information. I have every phone call, every communication that we've done, I write it down. He said, she said, I put the important people, maybe the lender, maybe the title company, I put that information over here. This type of thing is admissible in court if you have to go to court.
Do you put every text and email in there too?
No, because that's sitting on the computer, okay? But for every phone call or anything that's been, he said, she said, that's been described, I keep a running narrative.
Or face to face.
Yes, we agreed to this. I said I'd do that.
You know, and normally when you're starting off with clients, everything is great. You don't, foresee any problems. And then, it's 3 months into it and you start having some problems and you're going to kind of wish that you had some of those previous conversations written down. So, always a good idea to start from the very beginning with every client.
Any questions? I know we threw a lot of stuff at you, like where do you get the screwdriver or anything like that. Okay, I want to thank you, and Joni and I thank you for coming. Use your mentor, you're paying us.
Yes.
Use us. If you don't use us, you pay for us anyway. So.